Capricorn. Okay. So, Cap, I was shuffling your cards and some fell out, and I was gonna put them back, but then I decided not to. Let me turn that down. I still have my box. I have not found a case for it yet. Okay. Anyway, so you're worried about something and you're driving yourself crazy about it, and it kind of like it's almost like you're searching for the answers, but you're just constantly searching for them because you haven't found them yet, and you might even be searching externally for those answers. Hi. Let me know if you can hear me because I have like this background noise on and I don't want it to drown me out. But yes. So, what was the first card? The first card was the world actually that popped out. And this talks about Saturn. It talks about, karmic endings, right? Or things that happen karmically, or situations that change, which brings about an ending, that brings about another beginning, which is talking about an unfolding of a situation, right? So, this is also talking about like, your environment, right? And how your environment has changed or how your environment is changing. And you're being more practical, right, in terms of how you relate to your environment, and being more practical in terms of how you relate to your environment is talking about what are your needs, are they being met? It also even talks about changing some things that maybe need to be changed, right? Out of just kind of like a more mature understanding of what needs to be done. Neptune and Uranus, right? But this card is talking about transmutation because it has all of the fixed symbols in the fixed sign, sorry, in the card and the things that actually symbolize those signs, right? You have this human here for Aquarius, then you have the bull here for Taurus, you have the lion for Leo, and you have the eagle, which is more of an ancient interpretation for Scorpio, right? And the eagle is talking about freedom, and it also is talking about the ability to kind of rise above anything, right? And that's kind of like that phoenix energy as well, right? The ability to rise above the ashes, right? So this is for me, this is saying that you have what it takes to get through whatever this situation is, right? Because the world is talking about your abilities too, Saturn, your abilities, what you can handle, right? Saturn is trying to strengthen you. It's trying to make you a little bit more self-reliant, and Capricorn, Pluto is a planet of self-reliance, and so is Saturn. So those are both in Capricorn right now, you know, as Saturn is gonna get ready to go into Aquarius, and then later on we're gonna have Pluto eventually get there too. I've been doing a lot of reading up on these planets that are in your sign, and Capricorn rules governing and making the rules and the laws and the regulations, right? But how are all of those things benefiting everyone? So we're thinking about how are all of the things benefiting, your life in its entirety, right? Because we just have that Virgo full moon that trines your energy, right? Working synergistically, working harmoniously, right? Getting things done. There's a flow of things. You're seeing things change, and being that Uranus is also did also trine that energy around that time about a week ago. Uranus being in Taurus, that's kind of like it being in its fall. But the positive aspect of the trine made it worthwhile. So whatever it is that you feel like is changing for you, because you have the Five of Cups here, and this talks about change, right? Things that you don't have the power to prevent from changing for you, right? And your reality. So this is something that you may have relied upon, right? That may have fed you emotionally, right? You were aware of this because it's a five, you know, and that's the energy of the fifth house, or it could be, the energy of the Hierophant Taurus, all right? And this is also talking about what you are consciously aware of, right? That type of thing. So you realize you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. You realize that you're gonna take some losses too. You're gonna suffer some losses because this Five of Cups is talking about suffering a loss. It could be of a person, or it could just be like you're affected because you're feeling some kind of way over the losses that you have suffered that have affected your reality. your resources. And then you have this Nine of Swords here, which is talking about, you're trying to fix it, you're trying to find the answers, but it's like you're going in circles, right? It's kind of like the Nine of Swords is like you're trying to find the answers in the wrong places, you know, that type of thing. You're searching all around for the answers in the wrong places. You have to kind of like let them come to you as well, right? Spiritually, because this is a Gemini card. It's Mars and Gemini. So the energy of Gemini is as above, so below, and it talks about being spiritually connected, right? Psychologically, right? In the mind. So it's kind of like you need to attune. It's almost like you're getting that fog, you're getting that snow channel. You haven't really attuned yourself to the channel that you need to position yourself to be listening to, right? Where are you downloading from? You're not picking up the right downloads. And the World card is telling you to sit back, wait, right? Because it is a 3 related to the Empress. And look at her. She's sitting back and she's waiting, right? Time is also a factor here. You know what I mean? You just have to let things play out karmically. There are definitely some things that you can control, right? And there are definitely some things that you are going to feel like, you know, angry over, basically, right? You're going to wish that you would be able to do something about it, right? And it almost kind of like plays with your dignity a little bit, right? Because it's kind of like that idea. It's like when a parent, you watch movies where like the parent in the movie is like being attacked or they're being restrained and like the child has to watch it, you know? That's like being your dignity being stripped away. So some of you might be feeling like that. You might even want to see some changes happening in terms of like your job. You might be thinking about what you might need to change about your job now that all of these things are happening. This is also kind of like a relationship too that you might be dealing with somebody, with like a family. There's some things that are changing there with you. You might just be suffering some kind of like change in the reality in terms of the commitment that you have aligned yourself with someone. Definitely facing some adversity, a lot of different things changing, happening around you fast, okay? And you're having to react and respond to things very quickly too. Plan well, you know, as best as you can. The World came up again, so it really is just saying like, stay with it. There's a sense of completion that you're going to feel. Okay, and then the King of Swords came up. That's Aquarius, right? It's fixed air. That's double air. So it's talking about it's going to take a real change of perspective for you to be able to see your way out of this situation. Before I cut the deck, the Judgment card is at the bottom, and this talks about freeing yourself from something that was holding you back out of your need to control that thing. You can't control the actions of others. You also can't control, the habits of others either. So you constantly trying to focus on that or obsess over that or obsess over your resentment towards your inability to, prevent people from doing things habitually. What are you going to do? You know what I mean? What are you going to do? You can't do anything about it. And the Judgment card is talking about, if when you really, that you fear what you can't change about others, right? That type of thing. In some kind of way. All right, the Seven of Wands is at the bottom of the deck. This is related to the Chariot, which is talking about moving forward, right? I feel like something has made you feel like emboldened and impassioned, and this is also talking about a sense of valor, right? It's almost like you're carrying this torch, or you're moving forward with a firm belief in who you are and what your principles are and why you're doing the things that you do. This is kind of like staying with it as well, not giving up. You know what I mean? It's a 7, so it's kind of like how you're relating to the experience. The experience is meant to show you who you are and what you're made of, right? It's meant to strengthen you too. Yeah, it's gonna trigger you, and it's gonna have to. You're gonna have to spring to action in some kind of ways, right? You might be feeling a little bit uncomfortable in the ways that you're having to act right now and do things and be responsible and assert yourself, you know? because it talks about a situation not being ideal as well, because it is a seven related to the seventh house of Libra, right? Ideally, I would rather not have to be going through it like this, you know. But it's kind of like you're trying to position yourself. You're trying to get yourself in a good position, you know. Did I cut this already? I think I did. So let me go ahead and lay it out. Sometimes I'll be like, did I cut it or did I not? And then I'll be like, just lay it out, and that's what I do. Okay, so before I actually pull these cards from this spread, I'm going to flip over or shuffle and pull a card from the Runes Oracle deck for you. For you. There really aren't that many of these cards, so it's kind of hard to shuffle them. Only because I feel like I'm shuffling like two pieces of paper. And you know, it's gonna give me some sort of word or energy or some kind of like feeling to go by in terms of what your reading is trying to get you to understand, or the theme, right? What's the focus of it? But we are talking about overcoming adversity here, and we're talking about doing it gracefully and also getting towards the victory. I don't know why I did it like that, but I know which one I want. All right, this is talking about aggression, right? I believe this is aggression. Hagalaz is aggression. And it talks about maybe you need to have more aggression, or maybe you actually are afraid of how aggressive a situation might become. You know what I mean? This is kind of like a storm brewing. That's what you feel, like a storm is brewing. And it's almost kind of like you're gearing up for whatever it is that you feel like you're going to be running from. But I don't want you to feel like you're running from a situation. That's why the Seven of Wands is here, because it's saying you're not running from it, you're actually facing it head on, regardless of how hard it gets. You know what I mean? And also, you need to just be aware, be more aware of what's happening around you. You know, yeah, it is aggression. Hellstorm. Haggalas signifies wind, bad weather, and is connected to dangerous and destructive forces and times of crisis, right? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a time of crisis right here, and not being too fearful of it. You know, letting things happen. The unexpected is always going to happen. You know what I mean? Often in life, unexpected things happen that we are unable to foresee. Exactly. That's what I was talking about before. Okay? It's talking about your darker side and how you behave, how you act when the tables shift, or the tables turns, or the tables turn, or you're not resonating with the experience. You know, you're actually being triggered by it in a negative way. It's not resonating with you. You're like, this is not what I'm supposed to be going through. This is not what I'm supposed to be experiencing. And that's kind of like what the horse is experiencing here. He's like, wait a minute, I was doing okay until you came along, or until this change happened, and this is the storm that's coming. You see it in the sky, right? So it's talking about being in the midst of the crisis and how you're handling yourself. And you know what? That makes sense. Let's flip over the first card. Eight of Wands. The Eight of Wands is talking about the strength to carry on, the strength to allow yourself to move forward. And it is a progression from the card that's at the bottom of the deck for you, which is the Seven. The Seven of Wands is like, oh, I feel kind of restrained in my efforts to move forward. But the Eight of Wands here is saying, no, there is no restraint. You are going to still be able to do what you need to do. You are still going to be able to hit your mark. You're just going to have to, you know, have the courage and have the strength to do so, to move forward, right? Exercise your power. This is the moment. When people always talk about like what they would have done if they were in that movie, instead of getting caught by the monster or the killer or whatever, or what they would have done if they had to escape, right? It's like, now this is your moment to actually show yourself what you're made of and what you actually would do in a time of crisis. So take advantage of it. You know what I mean? Show yourself what you're actually really made of, truly. Okay? Right. Right. And you know, I feel like some people, like, you know, the other day, I feel like I am, like, the old me would have been like, oh my God, we need to do something, right? But me now, I'm kind of like not freaking out. But I did mention to a friend of mine the other day, I was like, I feel like you're not taking it seriously. But that was probably me overthinking it, just because it is something to overthink. You know, you did get the Nine of Wands in the pre-shuffle, but it's kind of like I'm not fearful. I just feel I'm just overly. I want to be a little bit more cautious, like overly cautious. But at the same time, I realize like why this is happening. You know, because there are some broken systems, right? Or there are some systems that you know have are broken now or obsolete, right? That we need to reconsider. Yeah, we have to, and it's basically retrograde. We're in the phase of that. And Capricorn, you know, you have a lot of planets in your sign right now that are, you know, sextile the energy of the Pisces Mercury retrograde. Right, so we're seeing what we actually can get out of it. There's like moments and opportunities that magic can happen, and when I say that, that just means like things that we normally wouldn't have been able to unlock, we can do it this time just because of that energy of the sextile. And then it was a full moon in Virgo, which was still trining, you know, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. So that's talking about health. It's talking about being practical. It's talking about, you know, really looking at things systematically overall as like a society, as people, as a world, as humans, but then also you. That's why we're getting in the quarantine. You know, the powers that be, the powers that be have given us these guidelines to sort of like take these, you know, navigate, right? Because this is Sagittarius, Mercury and Sagittarius. How are you navigating, right, through this time? And it is an eight. And the eighth house does talk about crises, you know, things that happen that you can't do anything about, things that you fear, right? So it's kind of like you just have to spring into action, and you really can't be in fear right now. You just got to push forward, okay? And the challenge is the High Priestess, which is Pisces, and that's basically where the retrograde was happening. It's talking about things being revealed to us as well. This Eight of Wands has a sense of clairvoyancy that is really moving forward and opening things up for us quickly, right? And people are actually being able to see what they didn't see before. But some people have been seeing it for this way for a long time. You know, it's just being revealed to other people through all of these different actions, all of these different things. Because there's been a lot of different things that has brought that this has like stirred up or motivated a lot of questions coming up. You know, the homeless population, people in jail, you know, older people. How are younger people and their perception of older people and how they have to protect them just through their actions? You know, it's all kinds of stuff. And also like the greed, right? Because we're thinking about that as well. You know, it is Mercury and Sagittarius, but then we're thinking about the greed and how people's power in terms of like the shared resources, right? Because the eighth house is talking about shared resources as well. Okay, and this is the Eight of Wands. The shared resources, people just went crazy. Ah, I want all the toilet paper. Ah, I want the cases of water. Ah, I want, you know, the paper towels. It's like, oh my God, now we're seeing just how like greedy people are up and down from the top to the bottom, right? And it's revealing things to us. High Priestess, show the compassion, right? Where's the love? You know what I mean? And then it also is talking about how this is going to bring about a sense of balance when that thing is revealed to us, when we are not denying ourselves of the truth, when we actually are seeing, right, experience the energy of poverty for something. Hello, I know what it is like to be impoverished, right? I've been there. I've been on on the other side of it too. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like we're realizing that everything does matter. And it's kind of like everything does matter in your life as well. You know, so this is also revealing things to you personally as to like what you actually would like to see your life as. You know what I mean? Because we are talking about your life with this Eight of Wands here. It's an eight. And then it's talking about Sagittarius, right? How have you evolved? How are you going to move forward? How are you going to expand? How are you going to grow from this? How are you going to mature from this, right? Seven of Pentacles in the past. You know, it talks about like, wow, was I really prepared? How did I save up in the past? This is also a seven, which is talking about, you know, wanting to see something progress, wanting to see the proof, because it's a pentacle, right? And it's Saturn in Taurus. Taurus is also talking about the proof of something, trying to really weigh out and measure the proof of something, right? Because the sevens are talking about how we're measuring something, being that that's the place that rules, that the scales rule. So you're measuring the process, the progress, the process, and you're measuring your money. You're counting the money. You wish that something would have been able to improve like a while ago. I feel like that from this card because it's in the past. You're like, this should have happened a long time ago. I wish that I would have been set up or I would have been able to do this. You know, this is besides Corona. I'm not just talking about that, right? This is kind of like you wanting to have certain things in place for yourself just in general, right? Because when we talk about the sevens, we do speak of, general concepts, right? Because we're talking about two, right? You and I, me and you. Also, it's very Aquarian as well with that two. Like, how am I affecting you? How are you affecting me? How are we treating each other together? You know? Um, but this is saying that, you're going to see the improvements happening. Because the Seven of Pentacles is here in the past, talking about the worry about the slowdown of the resources and the things that just haven't happened yet. The Eight of Wands coming in and being like, well, we got all this other stuff going on around us that's going to reveal all of these things to everyone, you know? And then that's what's going to bring about the changes. Then we're going to be able to see those improvements happen. Okay, Three of Wands here in the Sun position. That's what we're bringing focus to for you. Okay, and this is waiting for something, right? You might even be waiting for something in the mail. You know what I mean? Because this is a three, and it talks about short distance travel, right? And things sort of like being delivered physically, messages being delivered physically. So this could be something that comes in the form of, the mail, perhaps. But then this Three of Wands is talking about where do I see myself? How am I navigating through this, right? Because the threes are talking about navigating, systems of navigation, you know. The third house is ruled by Mercury, right? And it's Gemini. Okay. This is talking about how you are springing to action, okay, in the moment. Because the threes are talking about in the moment, being in the moment, right? We need you to be in the moment. Aries is I am, and that is to be, right? To be or not to be, okay? Doing a lot of different things, too. Getting a lot of different things done, okay? You've got two wands in your hand, and there's one behind you. I feel like you got multiple things to be worried about, but it's also keeping you busy, right? So you're not able to worry too much because this, being that the sun position has the Three of Wands, that Aries energy is like really not good. This looks like a little like when he grows up, he's gonna be the emperor, right? Because it looks like the same landscape that the emperor is in. So you're like, okay, yep, this is how I have to be now. I just have to tap into that energy of being like, it's pretty much like it's like a business as usual mentality, knowing that it's not business as usual, but you being like business as usual kind of like keeps you um ready, right, for anything. Because this talks about being ready for anything, you know. Let's look at your moon. Temperance. Okay, yeah. So this is what we're talking about, right? What's hidden here is the direction that we're going to be going after this, right? Once time passes, right? The Three of Wands is here, just sort of referring back to that energy of the world, right? That came up in the pre-shuffle and fell out. But it's like, where are we going from here? Once we figure this all out, this is an alchemical process that's happening with us right now, with everyone, right? With you. And this is Capricorn energy. Yeah? And that's Pluto being there, Saturn being there, Jupiter being there, Mars being there. You know? There's work being done. With Mars and Capricorn, you better believe work's getting done. Right? Even if you don't want to be doing the work, you gotta do it. You know what I mean? That really what that's it's time, right? It's time to get to work. That's really what that's talking about. And it's like even with government, because Capricorn rules that time to get to work, you know? But this temperance card is here. It's a 5. And that 5 is talking about your belief systems, right? What you aspire to as well. Aspiring to something greater, you know? Yeah, you're experiencing a challenge. You're experiencing some severity right now. You're having to work things out in a way that that you've never had to do before. No, you've never experienced this before, and that's what the Temperance card is talking about. Because Sagittarius talks about what's your experience. Tell me, right? I want to know. Teach me what you've learned. That type of thing. And it's like, what is my experience now? Wow, I'm learning something new. I really don't know what to go off of here. So it's like you have to think on your feet. It's like just even your concepts are different, right? It's challenging to change your concept and your belief of what your concept was and has been thus far, right? You're trying to hold on to something old, but then it's almost like you're imagining something new as well. And this could be you're out of something. It's in a very strange way, in a very weird way. It's almost like a blessing in disguise, right? And it's because like now you're seeing what it is that you can do about what it is that you felt like you needed to change all this time, or what somebody what you know basically spirit, right? It's like the spirit, the divine guides working things out. Yeah, I take a lot of pictures now, and I take a lot of pictures at night. And when I take the pictures at night, I see a lot of orbs in the pictures. Right? I have to get really close to you guys so you can see it. Anyway, yeah. Facing adversity, facing challenges, feeling the slowdown, waiting for some things to come in. I know a lot of you guys are waiting for that money from the government, right? Um, the high priestess is also talking about being confused about the job too, because it's a 2, and that's Taurus. That's the second house of money, right? I mean, obviously it's a high priestess, and it's Pisces. But that Roman numeral is a Roman numeral 2. Oh, the orbs, right? They have been live. Let's look at your anxieties. Okay, right. Your anxieties are about feeling shut in. Where's my mind gonna go now? Because you got Mercury and Cancer here. It's like thinking about the home. What can I do in the home? The 3s. Well, how can I keep myself busy? Mercury, Gemini energy. How can I keep myself busy in the home? How can I stay creative? Take your time with that. This is still a 3. Take your time with that. Let things flow. You don't want to force yourself to be creative, or you don't want to force yourself to clean, or you don't want to force yourself to do anything that you're not going to enjoy doing because you have a lot of time in your hand. Do what it is that is productive for you, that you enjoy in that moment. If it's something that's taking your mind off of the stress of things and you're enjoying whatever you're doing, do it. If you feel like, oh, I want to go and like go outside and go for a walk before I come home and start cleaning, do it. If you want to go to the park because you can't go to the bar and you can't go to the restaurant or something like that, do it. And then this is also talking about time with those of you who have kids, because some schools are like closed. This could be talking about having like creative creativity time, sharing creative time with your kids, right? Sort of tapping into your youthful spirit again. But you definitely have anxieties about boredom and about, becoming a little bit stir crazy around the house. And food too. You have anxieties about food because this is Mercury in Cancer, right? Look at this. You know? I don't think you need to worry about that. Food will be around. And the produce is also what people are like not getting a lot of, right? Because that's gonna go bad. So what I would suggest is that like get the produce that you want to eat like in the next couple of days or so, and then like just shop for produce that way. Some of you actually need to communicate with your mother as well. I feel like just check up on them if you haven't. Texting. I'm sorry, I'm missing the messages because I'm looking down. Do that for sure. And siblings, because the threes are talking about that as well. Let's look at your Mars. Oh, okay. So the Mars position is kind of like correlating with the challenge here, which is or the immediate influence, which is the High Priestess, right? Which is the Roman numeral 2. And this card here, the Two of Cups, is Venus in Cancer. I feel like this is kind of like a bonding too. This is giving you more time to bond, right? It's kind of like when you're brought to your it's like your submission, right? But on be you're acting on the submission or falling into submission of all of this, right? And by that I mean like now you can like have those bonding experiences that you were so busy that you like just weren't having or that you just couldn't have. You have that time to connect, right? Um if this is you with your family or your loved ones or your partner, your spouse. Also, it's in the Mars position and it's the Two of Cups. So it really is talking about self reflection as well and reconnecting to yourself and how you can begin, right? Because we're talking about being at the beginning steps here in terms of these two. Now we're just starting to really get somewhere. Okay, you're starting to see where some changes might be occurring and where you could make some changes. Okay, in the home and also within yourself, reconnecting to you, your spirit, your soul, and also it's kind of like a recalibration, rebalancing out, getting more sleep, more rest in general, eating right, thinking about what you're eating now. Now it's not like, oh, I'm on the go or, oh, I can't, just now we're being more thoughtful about what we're putting into our bodies, because Cancer does rule the stomach. You have two Cancer cards here, right? It's a really good time to be more healthy. And for some of you, this is kind of like getting closer to that person that, you've been feeling close to anyway. Because the Two of Cups does talk about love and it does talk about relationships and getting together and also with friends too, right? It's a card that talks about showing compassion. So some of you guys could actually be doing something that's quite foreign to you, which is showing the compassion to others, but also showing compassion to yourself. Don't beat yourself up over things that you don't have right now, or maybe the things that you're unable to do, you know, that type of thing. In your Venus position, you have the Fool, which is Uranus. So we could be dealing with Libra energy of trying to do what's fair, trying to, and in terms of like not necessarily like I want to do what's right, but doing what's fair. Because what's fair is like, you know, maybe you need to share something, right? That that only you have. Um, but Venus is also talking about how you relate to everything. And the fact that you got the Fool here is a really good energy because now we're going deeper because Uranus is the esoteric ruler of Libra, right? Because when anything comes along and changes that zero mark on the scale, whoa, now I have to like adjust to that. Now I have to like relate to my new reality. And that's what the Fool does. He's relating to a new reality that has changed for him, her, them, they, suddenly. And it's a sudden change, right? But the Fool is actually like, right, wow, I am not my things. Like, I don't need all of the stuff that I was wearing before. I don't need to carry the weight of all of the things. It actually is kind of like taking a weight off of you because it's like, oh, don't go to work. Also, we're gonna try to give you some money, and we're gonna try to work this out for you guys while you sit back and just kind of like don't get anybody else sick. You know what I mean? So in a sense, we're like, wow, wow. You know what I mean? But also, it's the ruler of Aquarius. And it talks about a change of perspective, a shift, right? And it's kind of like walking into this change of perspective and walking towards this shift of energy, optimistic with open arms, because you realize that something is going to change for the better, right? It might get worse before it gets better, but maybe we flatten the curve like they've been talking about, or maybe we're getting to that. Um, the Fool also talks about like I feel like it's like, okay, I'm just gonna stay right here until I can, until it's like okay to like move and stuff like that. But this card also tells me like you can still get out there and do some things that take the edge off. You know, like if you're getting stir crazy at home, you can go to the park. You can go for a walk around your neighborhood. If there's stuff that you absolutely must get, go ahead and go, get it. But be careful, be safe. Do the right things, okay? The Fool also to me is talking about a clean slate, some starting over. It's like that tabula rasa energy. It's kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm going to let go of whatever it was that I felt like might have been holding me back before. Okay? So there's some things that you feel like are coming out of this, right? Or you're coming into this and hopefully coming out of this, letting go of some of those things that, you just didn't really want to be carrying around with you anyway. You know? So I feel like you're gonna actually be getting a lot done by doing like nothing, which is so weird, right? And this is one of those instances where you actually can get a lot done by doing nothing. If that makes sense. If you're working from home, then clearly you need to be working from home. But how much work can you do? Wow, the star card in the outcome and the energy moving forward. And that is talking about understanding, appreciation, right, for everything that really does matter. You are not your things. And the card that is in the center of the reading is the Eight of Wands. And this is the star card, right? Number 17, reducing to an 8. It talks about the courage to to find yourself again or to realign yourself with who you are, who you know you are. It's your divine purpose, okay? And it's also your awareness, your awareness of who you are, cuz the 8th house is very aware of itself just because it's like Pluto is very self-aware. Mars is very aware of itself, but Pluto is very self-aware because it's like that higher octane of Mars, right? Mars is the self. Pluto is giving you the higher octane of the self. And now we're getting into that energy of the 8, right? The star card is also referring back to the strength card. So we're talking about courage. We're talking about strength. We're talking about spiritual fortitude, okay? And this is a 17. It's related to the number 8 on the tree of life. We're talking about the psyche, right? The mind. Okay? This is a calming of the mind. So some of you guys need to really calm your mind. You need to calm down, right? Do some chakra work, listen to some binaural beats, just sit there with a candle, right? Maybe in silence, listening to something that is going to soothe your spirit, okay? Because this is you taking off all of the nonsense, all of those different layers, right? It is really talking about like a spiritual cleanse, spiritual healing as well. So let's go ahead and pull a card from the Romance Angels Oracle and see what comes up for you. If you guys are thinking about love at this time, I personally, I haven't had sex in a while, a long time, and I'm definitely not going to be doing it now. Maybe in a couple weeks, maybe in a few weeks. You know, these cards are beat up. Finances and career. Oh, Lord. Finances and career. Financial issues are a factor in your love life right now. So some of you guys aren't even really thinking about that. Y'all think about your money. And deception. Someone is wearing a false mask in this relationship for you, Capricorn, whatever that means. And this is the perfect time for people to ghost. If they're gonna ghost, this is the perfect time for them to do it. Okay? I'm gonna pull another one just for those of you out there that are like, my finances are good and my career is good, but it's saying that, y'all are probably not going to be feeling that great about being in a relationship or doing anything, because it's kind of hard to have a social aspect of that. You're thinking about your money. You are thinking about, like, what's my job going to be like? Like a boy. Or a man, I guess. I don't know. Unless it's somebody that you care about, But if it's not, then you're thinking about career and finances right now. Okay, just like he knew he would, honey. And we ain't talking about I feel good. Getting to know each other as you reveal your most inner. This is so funny too because now that you're quarantined, y'all, it says getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. And didn't I speak about bonds with the Two of Cups being here in the Mars position? Right. So yeah, the bonds are happening. The bonding is occurring. Knight of Swords in the future. All right. So I feel like some of you are going to be having some conversations that you've been needing to have, right? That you might have been sitting on, right? Or you may have been sitting on some information that you're now going to reveal or release or unleash, right? This could be like an opinion that you might have about something. Yeah. Or this could just be kind of like you need to communicate something that you've been anxious to communicate. You've been anxiously waiting to say something. You could even be trying to get someone's attention that's been ignoring you, that you want to talk to, you know? And this is for Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, or if you have Saturn in your first, right? Or if you have Saturn in your 10th, okay? If you want to go further than that, because Saturn is a big planet and it does rule more than one sign, if you have Saturn in your 11th house as well. 10th and 11th. Okay, and just the first because, when it's the first house planet, it has a very great significance to you and it kind of makes you feel like you're dealing with the energies that sign deals with a lot. Yeah. So that definitely is something, right? Communication. But this is kind of like it's like communicating from home as well, because that Knight of Swords is Gemini, but it's also 1/3 of Taurus, and Taurus kind of is like, they're set in place, right? That fixed energy, right? So you could be communicating from a fixed place. So this could be over the airwaves, over social media, that type of thing, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like communicating in a different way because it's Gemini, right? I FaceTime with someone that I never usually FaceTime with. Two of Swords at the top, making some critical decisions and some choices, right? You're going to be faced with making a choice or making a decision in terms of like cutting something or like canceling something or something like that. This too is also you're wondering what's going to be happening with your job. You're wondering what's going to be happening with your job. It's like checks, money. Can I work from home? How can I work from home? Right? You might even be trying to work out some sort of system so that you can work from home. Because this is Moon in Libra, you know, and it is a 2 and it's very Gemini. So we're talking about communication. We're talking about efficiency as well. right? Choosing the most efficient ways to do things, weighing things out. What is the most efficient? Okay? And what's going to be fair to the situation and to everybody involved, right? What's good for you and what's good for everybody involved. And it's funny because it is the moon, and it is the moon in Libra. It's a two. The moon is actually exalted in Taurus, which is the second house. So you are trying to be fair in terms of everybody, right? You're listening, being objective, right? Well, what are we talking about and what are we doing? What are we trying to get done here? What's the point? You know? Because then, like, if we know the objective, then we're one step closer to knowing how to deal with it. Because if we're trying to do something and it's not based on what our objective is, then now we can narrow it down. So some of you guys might be feeling differently about the job that you have. You're like, wow, I couldn't continue working during this quarantine. What else could I be doing that wouldn't be affected by something like this? Right? And you're thinking about that now. Computing. So you're going to be making some changes and some adjustments. Right? Because this is a two, and the second house is fixed and doesn't really want to make those changes or adjustments. But this is also swords. Right? And it's also the energy, it has that energy of Gemini. And it also has that energy of Aquarius. The two of swords, you can see Gemini in it, you can see Libra in it, and you can see Aquarius in it too. Just because it looks like an 11 and it's two swords. Okay? It's like a baby justice card too. Right? Trying to achieve balance by coming up with a solution. You know? And it's evolving to this. It has come to this because it's the moon, right? I've been feeling like this for some time now. The moon opposes. This is a two, opposition. The moon opposes Capricorn, which rules time. Saturn is exalted in Libra. I've been feeling like this and I've been thinking about this for some time now. And now that I'm in this situation, now that I'm fixed in this situation here, I'm really thinking about what I want to do moving forward. It's also a two like the High Priestess is. Jupiter rules that, right? That's travel, that's movement. Yeah? My foundations, what are they established on, right? How have I established myself? How has this established itself for me? You're thinking about all that shit. That's very Libra. All the questions. Remember Nick News W5? The who, what, where, when, and why? You want to know all that shit. That's why you've been wasting time. Now you got all the time in the world. So now you can come up with your solutions. Right? You're not going to be too busy, making up these things, What is it that you need to be doing that you should have done, work-wise? And it also could be talking about, documents and stuff like that, making those calls, seeing what it is that you can do about these bills that you're probably going to have to pay, right? Or maybe you can minimize it. Maybe you can put a freeze on the accounts or something like that. You know what I mean? For real. Now I'm going to pull a Keepers of the Light card for you. Cancer. I'm sorry. Why did I say that? Are you dealing with a Cancer? Capricorn. That's who you guys are. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just going to do it like I did the last times. Mother Mary, love and peace. Let go of the need to be right. Don't we know? Capricorn. Choose peace. Mother healing is possible at this time. So this is really talking about you not, the adversity that you're facing, the stubbornness and the anxiousness that you feel and wanting to move forward, wanting things to happen quickly, more, faster than they are. It's saying like, let go of that, Sun position has the Three of Wands here. And, sometimes our ego is driven out of fear. And this Seven of Wands talks about the ego being driven out of fear. Mars is the ruler of Aries, and Pluto is also like a co-ruler of Aries, right? Pluto is exalted in Leo. So we are thinking about power, we are thinking about fear, and we are thinking about how our ego might be being affected by what we cannot control, right? And it's triggering us eh, kind of emotionally, but it's triggering you to act and you wanting to do something, right? That type of thing. What else do I get over here? All right, let me leave you with some literature. And I feel like this is good because I've been listening or reading a lot about Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn being in these planets or being in these signs. So let me go for here with Jupiter in Capricorn. Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn is in its fall because Capricorn is opposite the sign of Cancer, in which Jupiter is exalted. This situation is manifested in an over-concern with the letter of the law rather than with spirit. However, Jupiter in Capricorn, if well aspected, can give great integrity, especially in moral conduct. That's what we're talking about. Moral conduct here. Business ethics, right? How are we going to take care of businesses and people who are, affected by the businesses that they work for, and the responsibilities of high office? Hello, government. Natives generally have conservative, traditional values concerning politics, education, and moral conduct again. They support the value system of social, economic, and political status quo, overlooking its injustices, faults, and hypocrisies. The resulting rigidity of social outlook can alienate the younger generation and those who embrace a universal point of view. Clock it. People with Jupiter in Capricorn often acquire positions of economic or political responsibility. So this is the energy that we're working in right now, not just the person with this energy. But a lot of you might have Jupiter in Capricorn if you're born in like 1984, okay? They will exercise prudence, caution, and a mature judgment therein, but may lack imagination, creativity, and the ability to innovate. So we feel like that right now. We don't really feel innovation in our lives right now because we feel a little bit restricted because that's the Capricorn energy. But it's asking us to how can we play with this restriction in order to not feel restricted, right? How can we work within the confines of our restrictions to then discover that we actually are not restricted, right? They have a strong drive for power and status, prompted either by personal ambition or by a sense of duty to society, right? This drive can interfere with their home life and the personal emotional values associated with it, right? We're all at home, right? Now we're like, what are we doing at home? The corporation executive who spends all his time at the office dealing with those in power and neglects his family is typical of persons with Jupiter in Capricorn. And that's literally what's been happening, right? But it's kind of like the person in power who are the people that have been governing have been neglecting the family and the persons, right, that make up these families. These people often acquire a cold, austere personal manner in their later years, and they hide the inner feeling of emotional frustration and loneliness, engendered under an attitude of dignity and importance. With this position of Jupiter, great wealth is often attained through ambition, patience, managerial ability, and the wise use of resources. Since these people seek the status conferred by wealth and high position, which those on the top have, they automatically adopt values of those with impressive status who can help them achieve prominence. I'm going to try to read what you guys have said. These people arbor extravagance and waste. That's what we're thinking about right now, extravagance and waste. If Jupiter is afflicted, and this tendency is carried to extremes, there can be a miserliness, what is that? A miserliness or an inclination to economize in small matters and at the same time to be extravagant in large ones. Okay, that's one of them. Now I'm going to read Jupiter and the conjunctions because those are actually very poignant and they are very on point for what's happening right now. And you will gag when you hear what it says. So now I'm going to read you the last times that Pluto was in Capricorn, which was in 1762 through 1777. And then Pluto eventually will be going into Aquarius, and I'm going to read that, which is from 1777 to 1799. Capricorn is a sign dealing with political and economic power structures, profession, status, ambition, and leadership. During the years in which Pluto was in Capricorn, new concepts of government were born. That's in 1762 to 1777, okay? And we're dealing with that right now while Pluto is in Capricorn. Their most notable manifestation was the American Declaration of Independence, which happened in 1776. The birth of democratic forms of government at this time began the displacement of aristocratic power structures, which is what we're dealing with now in the sense of autocracy, right? So the American Declaration of Independence, right? We're dealing with new concepts of government and how we might need to change those things, okay? Because Pluto is talking about transformation. The birth of democratic forms of government at this time began to displace the aristocratic power structures, okay? When Pluto again enters Capricorn, which is what's happening now, a world government based on the best interest of all mankind will begin. All right? This government will be founded on new social, legal, educational, and religious concepts which will be developed during Pluto's stay in Sagittarius, which was happening, years and years ago. The generation that will be born with Pluto and Capricorn, which these are like kids that are being born now, right, our future, will manifest dynamic, practical will in organization, business, and government. What makes sense, right? Why are we doing what doesn't make sense? This will be based on the concept that all human beings must be given a chance to develop their own potential according to their ability and self-discipline, and not necessarily their socioeconomic background, the family that they come from, what race they are, none of that. It'll be based on ability and whether they have the self-discipline to continue to practice, farm, and feed into their natural abilities, right? I love it. Then, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, which we'll be getting to soon, Aquarius is the sign of group activity, intuitive mental development, science, and humanitarianism. And don't we need science and humanitarianism right now? The period in which Pluto was in Aquarius witnessed the American Revolutionary War and saw the formulation of the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights and the presidency of Thomas Jefferson, which people glorify Thomas Jefferson. The United States had its real birth as a democratic nation, being the first to demonstrate that rule by the people in a well-organized democracy was possible. So we're changing the way we see our democracy. It's almost kind of like a reboot. This period also marked the French Revolution. Where do you think the colors of our flag came from? The major European experiment In political freedom, representing the revolt of the common people, ruled by Aquarius, against outmoded dictatorial forms of government. The next transit of Pluto through Aquarius will be a time of tremendous scientific discovery and worldwide brotherhood. Coronavirus is bringing people together. The Aquarian age will come into its full flower then. I'm telling everyone that we are going into the age of Aquarius and COVID 19, and all of this has something to do with it, and hopefully they're listening. Okay, so now let's go into the conjunctions, and this will be a little over an hour, but I feel like it's important. And I'll do another video with talking about this. Okay, and I told myself that I was only going to do, I wasn't going to do it with you guys, but I'm doing it. So there. Okay, so where are we going? I want to go to the Jupiters, okay? Because Jupiter will go conjunct Pluto maybe twice this year, depending on the degree that it passes, because it's moving direct and then it's going to go retrograde at some point, okay? In the spring, or in the fall, or in the summer, I'm sorry. Spring or summer. So, Jupiter conjunct Saturn, because Saturn is in Capricorn right now, still at the later degrees. This aspect gives a serious outlook on life and an involvement in heavy responsibilities unless other factors in the horoscope contradict it. The natives are conservative and practical. Since they have to overcome severe obstacles, which we are, in order to expand their business and financial affairs, there are often problems connected with money, which we are feeling. To achieve a goal or to make any substantial increase requires endless patience. And that's what I was talking about with the Seven of Pentacles. If the natives have resources to work with, they can build things or institutions that will have lasting value. This is talking about bailout and things like that. Endless toil combined with hard work and danger are common with this conjunction, which is what we're experiencing. Sustained disappointments over a long period of time can drain the natives' optimism. Sometimes the effect of Jupiter operating on Saturn is a protection to them in their darkest hours. But there is a conflict between the Jupiter expansion and the Saturn contraction principles to the extent that the two planets can nullify each other's effects, which is why I said this was kind of like a blessing in disguise. There is a tendency for the natives' destiny to be at the mercy of larger social issues. For instance, factors affecting industry, business, and economics in a nation can create extreme difficulties. This aspect is more difficult if Jupiter precedes Saturn, which is saying if Jupiter was there before Saturn, but actually Saturn was in Capricorn before Jupiter. So that is a good aspect. So we actually are going to benefit from these happenings, okay? This sequence occurs every time a transiting or progressing planet aspects first Jupiter and then Saturn. Saturn preceding Jupiter is more favorable, which is what I just spoke of. Once the structural basis has been erected by Saturn, disciplined hard work can be rewarded. Okay? So now we're going to go with Jupiter conjunct Pluto, because we just did Saturn. This aspect confers the determination to achieve goals that will bring about improvement for both the self and others. The natives have the intense concentration to draw upon the power and inspiration of higher planes of consciousness and will often find themselves involved in yoga, systems of meditation, spiritual healing, clairvoyance, and prophecy. I spoke of clairvoyance earlier. The purity and accuracy of their abilities and perceptions will of course depend upon other aspects made to the conjunction, as well as upon the general tenor of the horoscope. I'll get to that in a second. The capacity for spiritual regeneration given by this conjunction provides leadership qualities and the ability to channel constructive forces in times of crisis. The conjunction favors judges and administrators who need penetrating insight into the motives and actions of people in society. Okay, so, you know, being that Saturn was in Capricorn before Jupiter, and Jupiter is coming in after Saturn and Pluto have both already been there, okay? That's a positive thing. If Jupiter was there before and then Saturn and Pluto came in, now we have things to worry about. Okay? So I know that was a lot. You know, it's literary. I have a lot of Sag. Okay? My Mercury is in Virgo. So, you know, I go through this. And I love this book. Okay? Let me give you a look at the copy. It's called The Astrologer's Handbook. And it is by Francis Sequoian and Louis S. Acker. Okay? I love it. Anyway, Capricorn, that's you. Just know that all of this is happening for a reason, and you are the energy that we are, you know, unlocking so that we can have all of these things occur that are really going to that are going to bring about improvements for us. Yeah, it's hard, and we're being slapped in the face with it. And it really is. We're being restricted. We're being held back. Finances are being affected. The global economy, the world card is talking about the global economy, you know, or just the economy, especially in your nation, because the threes are talking about localities as well. So we're talking about local economy, right? Anyway, I'm clearing out the cards now. Like, share, and subscribe. Definitely comment. I will be doing the Seven of Swords. Secrets coming out. Secrets being revealed. Some things coming out. You know, wanting to know the truth, right? Searching for the truth, too. Right? Definitely. Anyway, follow on Instagram, Providence Tarot. My account is NYC Kendrick. And I'll be doing Cancer next. Maybe not tonight, probably tomorrow. But that'll be the next video that you have to look forward to. Yeah. Thanks for watching. And take care of yourself. Be smart. Be practical. You know. Heal. Take a look at the things that you may have not been able to take a look at. Things that might have been hidden. The Hangman is talking about the right time will come when things will sort of like let up a little bit, you know. All right. Bye.